Welcome to the Quantum AI Coach podcast. I'm Gina, founder of Virtual World Coaching Academy.
So I want you to picture this. You are sitting at your desk, you stare at the clock, and it is only 2:00 p.m.
Oh, the classic 2:00 p.m. wall.
Right. And you feel completely, just utterly exhausted. And you look at your to-do list, and you haven't even tackled the big demanding projects yet.
Yeah, the heavy lifting is still sitting there.
Exactly. And the natural assumption is that, well, it's your workload, right? Or maybe you just didn't sleep well. But then if you really look at your morning, you realize you've actually just spent the last 4 hours mentally juggling the moods, the passive-aggressive comments, and, the wildly unpredictable emotions of your difficult colleagues.
It is, it's such a common phenomenon, but we almost always misdiagnose it. We label that afternoon crash as burnout, or we blame our diet, or our time management skills.
Right, like, oh, I didn't drink enough water today.
Exactly. But in doing so, we completely overlook this invisible social dynamic that is playing out in the background of our nervous system. We are so culturally conditioned to believe that being a team player means absorbing the stress of others, like keeping the peace at all costs.
Even if the cost is your own energy.
Yes, exactly.
And there's exactly what we are dismantling today. Welcome to this deep dive.
Today, we are pulling from some really fascinating research by Gina Pickersgill.
Yes, specifically looking at her work on the neuroscience of intuitive boundary setting. It's pretty eye-opening.
It really is. And the mission for our conversation today is to reframe what boundaries actually are. We want to show you why absorbing other people's stress is, it's absolutely not a personality trait.
No, it is not.
It's not proof that you are this highly empathetic, superior colleague. Biologically speaking, it is a massive nervous system leak. Right. And the overarching theme in Gina's research is that these misaligned social circuits, they're doing so much more than just making you crave an afternoon nap. They're actively keeping you stuck at specific energy and income ceilings.
Which is huge.
It is. So our goal today is to pull back the curtain on the actual biological mechanics behind the strain. Because once you understand the machinery of your own nervous system, you can finally reclaim what the source material refers to as your sovereign capacity.
Okay, so I want to start by challenging a piece of advice we hear, all the time. When you feel that sense of dread around a difficult coworker, the standard advice is usually, just brush it off. Or don't let them get to you.
You're just being too sensitive.
Yes, exactly that. It frames the exhaustion as a character flaw. But the research we're looking at today suggests something fundamentally different is happening inside our bodies, right? It's not just a mindset issue.
Far from it. To understand what's actually happening, we have to look at this concept known as social baseline theory.
Okay, what's that?
Well, we naturally tend to think of boundaries as these psychological constructs, like a cold, hard wall we put up to keep people out. But neurobiology paints a completely different picture. Evolutionarily speaking, our brains evolved in close-knit tribes.
Right, where social cohesion literally meant survival.
Exactly. If you were cast out of the tribe, you wouldn't survive the winter. So the brain evolved to view the presence of others, and particularly unpredictable or difficult people, as a potential source of immense metabolic energy expenditure.
Wait, let's pause on that phrase. Metabolic energy expenditure. So we aren't just talking about feeling emotionally drained. We are talking about literal pathetical fuel.
Yes. Actual glucose and oxygen.
Just being burned by the brain to manage the social dynamic.
That is the crucial distinction here. Your brain consumes roughly 20% of your body's total energy, and a massive portion of that is dedicated just to social processing.
Wow.
Yeah, there is a specific region in the brain called the anterior cingulate cortex, or the ACC. You can kind of think of the ACC as your brain's error detection center.
Okay, error detection.
Right. It is constantly monitoring your environment for conflict, for discrepancies between what you expect to happen and what is actually happening. So when you are around a difficult person, their behavior is, it's unpredictable.
So your ACC just starts working overtime.
Exactly. It actively tracks that person as a threat, calculating the potential for conflict, and it literally hoards metabolic resources in your body to prepare you to deal with a potential blow-up.
So it's essentially like leaving 50 tabs open in your web browser.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
Right. You aren't actively looking at them. You're just trying to write a single email on the one tab in front of you. But those 50 background tabs are constantly refreshing, constantly scanning the coworker's mood, trying to predict their next unpredictable move.
And draining your laptop's battery to 0 by 2:00 p.m.?
Yes. So if our brain views these unpredictable people as a tangible metabolic expense, does that mean the exhaustion we feel isn't a workload issue at all?
No, no,
It's entirely a neural load issue.
Yes, exactly. The exhaustion is the physical weight of that neural load. You are constantly running this threat detection software in the background, and this is where we have to, fundamentally redefine boundaries.
Right, because without them, the software just runs wild.
Exactly. When you don't have clear internal boundaries, your nervous system essentially leaves the door wide open for these background processes to hijack your energy. Boundaries aren't these cold, hard walls designed to isolate you. They are essential energy conservation methods for your nervous system.
They are the act of force quitting those 50 browser tabs so your brain's processor can actually function.
That is exactly it.
That reframes everything for me. I mean, you aren't being mean or difficult by setting a boundary. You are literally just conserving the biological fuel required to live your life.
Exactly.
But, okay, if our nervous system is constantly hoarding energy to protect us from social threats, what happens when it perceives a threat that isn't physical or social? What happens when the threat is something abstract, like a sudden shift in financial status?
Yep. Oh, this is where Gina's research gets incredibly profound. The nervous system, it doesn't categorize social threats and financial threats in completely different filing cabinets.
It doesn't.
No. The mammalian brain operates on a very primitive binary system, safe versus dangerous. It doesn't care about your logic or your ambition or your business goals. And for a lot of high performers, success, visibility, and wealth are subconsciously coded in that system as dangerous.
Which brings up a completely fascinating story from the text. It's about this hidden wealth trigger.
Oh, the bank deposit story.
Yes.
Yes.
So the narrator of this section shares an experience about a friend who discovered a massive sum of money in his bank account that had been deposited by mistake. We're talking a life-changing, clearly erroneous amount of money.
Right, a total bank error.
Yeah, so the friend shows the narrator the bank statement on his phone, and he's understandably shaken. And the narrator confirms, yes, those numbers are really on the screen, but what the narrator notes isn't the friend's reaction. It's their own surprising physical reaction to seeing that number.
The narrator describes feeling this sudden, intense, tight sensation in their stomach.
Right, a literal physiological contraction, right there in the room with a close friend.
Exactly.
But I'm stuck on the logic here, because they've been friends for years. The relationship was totally stable. Logically, nothing had actually changed between them in that room. The money wasn't even real. Why would the narrator's body react as if they were suddenly in physical danger?
Because to the primitive, survival-driven nervous system, wealth equates to hierarchy.
Wow. Okay.
To your logical, rational mind, your friend just has more numbers on a digital screen, and it's a funny mistake. But the moment the narrator registered that massive sum of money, their nervous system instantly reacted as if a tectonic power shift had just occurred.
Because suddenly they are higher up on the ladder.
Yes. The subconscious equation playing out in a fraction of a second was, they have more resources now, therefore they are higher in the hierarchy, therefore my position is subservient, which makes me vulnerable.
Oh, man. So the brain flagged the friend's sudden wealth as a threat to survival.
Yep.
And it initiated that physical contraction, that tight stomach, to prepare for defense.
So the body is bracing for an attack that the logical brain knows isn't coming. That's just wild. But the narrator didn't just ignore that tight stomach feeling, right? They realized they were having a somatic reaction and used what the text calls psychosensory techniques to process it in real time.
Right, right.
But what does a psychosensory technique actually look like in practice? Is it just like taking a deep breath?
Oh, it's much deeper than just taking a breath. Psychosensory techniques, things like havening or bilateral stimulation or certain types of somatic tapping, they use actual sensory input, like touch or eye movement, to directly alter the electrochemical activity in the brain.
Okay, so you're using physical touch to change brain chemistry.
Exactly. Remember, the amygdala, the brain's alarm bell, it's screaming danger. You cannot use logic to talk the amygdala down. If you tell yourself, I am safe, this is just a bank error, the amygdala doesn't care. It doesn't process language well when it's activated.
But it does process physical sensation. Yes. By applying specific sensory input, you send a physical signal up the vagus nerve that literally disrupts the amygdala's threat response. It forces the brain to produce delta waves, which are associated with deep sleep and safety.
So you are basically using your body to hack the hardware of your brain, telling it to stand down.
That's exactly what you're doing.
And the text notes that through doing this, the narrator had a massive breakthrough. The realization surfaced, and I'm quoting here, I don't need to be subservient to serve. I can be relational and respected. And the moment that belief actually landed in their body, the tension completely disappeared.
Right, because the story changed.
But how does changing a psychological belief, like just a thought, actually turn off a physical alarm bell in the body?
It all comes back to the story the nervous system is using to predict the future. The brain is a prediction machine. When the underlying belief was wealth equals hierarchy and hierarchy makes me subservient, the brain predicted danger and prepared the body to fight or flee. But when the narrator used those psychosensory techniques to update that core belief to, I can be relational and respected regardless of wealth, they effectively rewrote the predictive code.
So the nervous system stopped believing the old story of vulnerability.
Exactly. And because the prediction changed, the expansion and the wealth stopped feeling dangerous. The brain turned off the physical alarm bells because the threat just no longer existed in its predictive model.
Wealth stopped meaning hierarchy. Success stopped meaning vulnerability. I mean, that has huge implications for the listener. It means your limits on success, whether you're an entrepreneur or climbing the corporate ladder, they aren't usually about your skills. They're about what your nervous system actually feels safe enough to hold.
Precisely. You will subconsciously sabotage any level of success or visibility that exceeds your nervous system's capacity for safety.
Okay, understanding this conceptually is fascinating, but I really want to bring this down to the ground. Let's look at practical application. Imagine you are in the trenches. You're sitting in a meeting, and that difficult colleague we talked about earlier starts their usual passive-aggressive routine.
Oh, we've all been there.
Right. You feel that familiar wind-up happening. Your chest gets tight, your stomach drops, you feel the metabolic drain starting. How do you stop the leak in that exact moment without, making a scene?
So Gina's source material highlights a very elegant neuroscience-backed protocol for this. It's often referred to in psychology as the name it to tame it method.
Name it to tame it. I love that.
Yeah, it's very catchy. When you feel that autonomic arousal, the racing heart, the tight stomach, the sudden exhaustion caused by someone else's chaotic energy, you have to consciously interrupt the circuit. You have to shift from a state of reaction to a state of response.
And how do you do that?
The very first step is to literally, internally name the sensation you're experiencing. You just say to yourself, my nervous system is currently flagging a threat.
I find the biology of why this works so brilliant, because it's almost entirely mechanical. When you are in that triggered reactive state, the electrical activity in your brain is highly localized in the limbic system.
Right, your primitive emotional center.
Exactly. And as we mentioned, it doesn't use words. It uses panic, adrenaline, cortisol. But language. Language is processed in a completely different area of the brain, the prefrontal cortex. That's the area right behind your forehead, responsible for logic, reason, and executive function.
Right. And the limbic system and the prefrontal cortex, they have this inverse relationship. They operate a bit like a seesaw.
Yes. By forcing yourself to use language to construct a sentence, like, my nervous system is currently flagging a threat, you are forcing the brain's electrical activity to migrate out of the reactive limbic system and into the logical prefrontal cortex. You are literally pulling power away from the alarm bell just by acknowledging that it's ringing.
It is a remarkable biological override. I mean, functional MRI scans actually show the amygdala cooling down and reducing its activity the moment a person accurately labels their emotional state.
That is just incredible.
You are using your conscious mind to intentionally downregulate your autonomic nervous system.
Right.
It takes you out of the passenger seat. It moves you from being a passive victim of that colleague's chaotic energy to being the active architect of your own internal state.
Which brings us to the ultimate shift the research advocates for, moving from a state of juggling priorities to operating from sovereign capacity.
Exactly.
Because, this is where the work becomes tangible. We've spent this time dissecting the mechanics of nervous system capacity and the necessity of sovereign boundaries. But let's be honest, you cannot sustain an elite business container if your internal system still perceives a client's temporary discomfort or a colleague's bad mood as a literal threat to your own survival.
Right. It's akin to constructing a multi-million-pound skyscraper on a foundation of shifting sand.
Yes. Trying to fix the difficult colleague, or constantly shape-shifting to manage their emotions so that you can feel safe, it's a total exercise in futility. If you have felt that invisible ceiling of compromise today, where you continue to overdeliver simply to maintain the peace, you aren't broken, you are merely patterned. And today, you are taking full responsibility for re-architecting that internal container.
Exactly. And that realization is the perfect bridge into the work Gina Pickersgill is doing. She is moving beyond generic boundary scripts or surface-level strategy. She is teaching high-performing leaders how to rewire the actual neurobiological frequency of their wealth and somatic capacity.
So if you are ready to cease the energetic leaks and finally release the post-boundary hangover of guilt, look to the resources in the description right now. First, there's the Heal Your Money Wounds workshop.
Yes, this is your primary space to expand exactly what your nervous system feels safe to hold, receive, and contain without triggering an unconscious contraction. It's incredibly powerful.
And second, for the coaches and mentors listening, I encourage you to use her AI-driven Burden to Boundary Coach assessment.
Right, this is a precision tool designed to analyze your specific operational language patterns. It shows you exactly where your private life force is being drained by client interactions.
It's all about finding out where those background tabs are running so you can finally close them.
Exactly.
But before you click those links, take a moment to do the sovereign thing right here. If this perspective shifted something in your body today, hit the like button. It signals to the collective field that this is the frequency we are operating at. Subscribe and enable notifications, because in 2026, operating with absolute internal alignment isn't merely an option.
No, it is the only way to scale sustainably.
I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over as you go about the rest of your day. We've established the biological fact that your brain literally treats dealing with difficult people and managing their unpredictable emotions as a tangible, measurable metabolic expense. You are paying a heavy biological tax just to be in the room with them.
A huge tax.
So ask yourself, what kind of empire could you build if you took all that hidden energy you've been paying as an emotional toll, closed those 50 background tabs, and finally reinvested every single drop of that fuel entirely into yourself? Now go reclaim your space. We'll see you the next one.
So when Gina offered me the opportunity to do this, I jumped for it because I think anything that you can do that is going to chip away at these limiting the beliefs, the things that hold you back, is really, really worth doing. So it's been a really lovely experience, and if anybody's a bit worried about it, just do it, because the opportunity to connect through havening is really, really powerful. It's really, really powerful.
But really helpful, I think, in terms of having that kind of guided process just to kind of let the ideas and the feelings and the images flow, and then try and work out what it actually means afterwards, and to come up with, and it made intuitive sense. It's really, really helpful to then kind of have that debrief of, okay, what can we actually do with this stuff? Because that's where we tend to get stuck, is kind of like coming out of it going, oh, this is all some really interesting ideas and thoughts and feelings and images. But yeah, then, you know, how can we actually harness them to do something different? And I think that's been really, really helpful in terms of clarifying really what I need to prioritize to go forward in a way that will deal with some of that stuff that came up.
I would like to point out that I'm actually a therapist myself, and sometimes therapists also need a therapist. So I was really stuck, and then one day a friend posted a link for Gina's wealth and money attracting short course, and I went, this sounds great, I'm just gonna book it. And I loved it so much. I really had an epiphany on that course, and it was only meant to be a demonstration, and yet it was really it just opened up possibilities that I was stuck before, and now like, ooh, I can use this to unstuck myself. I'm a great believer that when the student is ready, the teacher appears, and you appeared at the right time. That's all there is to it. So, you know, if anybody is watching this video, it means Gina has appeared in your life. So please give it a try.
She walks where the sky